Once you have your logo screen all done, we're going to do some housekeeping before we move on. We want to get some things in order and get everything set up before we start creating a bunch of levels and move on. So the first thing I want to talk about is the project settings. So what you want to do is go over to File in the top left and then down to Build Settings. Once you open up this window, this gives you all the different platforms that you're able to build to. So for example, you see for the internet we have the web player. Right now we're just going to leave it as a PC or Mac or Linux standalone. You can change the target platform and the architecture, all that. We are able to design for iOS, Android, all these different mobile devices. Also the Windows App Store, and down at the bottom, these are new for this last update. We got the 360, PS3, and the Wii. These only work for the Pro version. We're going to leave it on the PC standalone. But really what I wanted to show you when you come in here in the build settings is that all the scenes that you're going to be able to build and then play are going to be located up in this scene right here. So to actually add a scene, you can go to your scenes folder and click and drag it up over into this window. So you can put both of these scenes in here. And you're able to leave scenes out, which means they aren't going to be put into your final game. So if you want scenes just for testing purposes, which is very popular and a lot of designers do that, you can just leave them out. Also, if you go into player settings, another thing that I wanted you guys to look at was the different resolutions that we can have. Right, so if you click the resolution and presentation button, you now have these different options that you can go through and change if you want to. So your supported aspect ratios, I'm just going to leave as default, which is all of them. What's nice is that you can even choose a default icon. You can give the company name and product name, and even give a cursor. So since it is a PC game and it's using a cursor, you can put in this picture here and that'll follow the mouse around. You have all these different icons that are used, so when you're actually looking at the exe file, when you go to open it up, this is the icon that will be displayed, splash image, and other settings. Go through that at your leisure. So the one thing I wanted you to look at was this resolution and presentation, because if we X out of there and we go to make sure you're in game mode, when you test the game, right now we're in free aspect, so you're going to see it in just this window right here. However, sometimes it doesn't look right. We want to actually choose a different resolution. So you can choose one of these ones here, but I'm going to choose the standard, which is the 1024 by 768. Therefore, when I do my play testing, it's always using the same window. Alright, and now when I play it, okay, it's probably not going to do anything. None of these buttons have functionality yet. We haven't done that. But now it's going to have the same resolution throughout the entire game. Even if you open up a new scene, if I go to my rollerball scene, notice it looks different now, but on free aspect you can see the little corners of the map. But when I change it, notice it looks different. Okay, so you always want to choose a screen resolution before we do testing. So as I've been showing you this, you can see that we've been doing it in the wrong order. We probably should have chose our resolution first before we do anything. Okay, so if you want to change that and maybe zoom out your game scene camera or make any adjustments you need to, go ahead. I'm just going to leave it how it is because these corners aren't really going to do much for this level. The next thing we need to talk about is the Game Master. When we go through and switch scenes from our main menu screen to our level select screen and then our different levels, we want the Game Master to be able to persist between levels. Notice that I have all of my game objects here in the hierarchy view and I'm in my rollerball scene, but now when I switch scenes and go to my logo screen, all my objects have changed. The game objects don't persist or stay in the scene from scene to scene. You have to create a whole new object. What we want to do is we want to be able to save settings. For example, if a player gets through our first 5 levels and doesn't want to replay the game, they can come back to level 5. We need to be able to save those options. So if we delete the Game Master object that's going to save all that data, we're not going to be able to save it because it's deleted. So we need to first make sure that our Game Master object is not going to be deleted. So go to your rollerball scene, and our Game Master object, we are going to create a prefab for it. So you should have a prefabs folder already with your collectible in it. We're just going to add the game master to this prefabs folder. So I'm just going to click my green game master, drag it down here. It's now a prefab. Since the game will be started from the main menu, I can go ahead and delete this now. Make sure you did drag it into your prefabs and it is blue, and then you can go ahead and delete it. Okay, it's not a big deal. If you tried to play test right now, you'd probably get some errors, but for playtesting purposes, all you'd have to do is drag that prefab back out in the hierarchy and you're good to go. But for now, let's keep it out. Save scene, save the project as well. And now we'll go back into our logo screen. And let's go ahead and put the game master object in, because this is where the game is actually going to start. So now when we switch from scene to scene, we don't want this game object to disappear. We want it to stay in the scene. So to do that, we need to use a method called DoNotDestroyOnLoad. So we're going to create a new script for that rather than putting it in a script that we already have. So I'm going to, in my scripts folder, create a new script, C# script. I'm going to call it DDOL, Don't Destroy on Load. Right, rather than typing all that out, I'm kind of lazy and I'll just use all caps. So I'll hit enter. Right, notice that the name of the script is the same as the class inside of the script right here. Make sure those are the same. If they're not, when you open it up for editing, make sure you change it. Alright. And now this script is going to look quite a bit different than any of the other scripts we've created so far. And I'll try and explain it as we go. Feel free to make comments. For right now, we're going to create a private, so it's only going to be accessible by this script. And we haven't used this keyword before. It's keyword static. What that means is it's not going to change throughout the game. It's going to stay exactly the same. So we're going to create a static DDOL. So basically we're creating a static variable to hold this script. All right, we're going to call it instance because it's a single instance that's not going to change. All right, then we're going to create a public static method. Notice the capitalization here. So I'm still going to call it, still call it instance, but notice it's capitalized. And inside squiggly brackets, so we do have a method here. All we're going to do is grab the instance of the object that we have. So we're going to return. For some reason it doesn't like that. I need to go through and change it. There we go. Private void awake. So this is similar to our standard methods that we made before, only notice that we can put the word private just like we do with variable, and this means it's only for this script. No other scripts are going to be able to access this awake function. Now notice awake, similar to start, where start is capitalized as well, awake is, and awake actually is called before the start method. So by using this, it's going to run before any start method that's also on our game master game object. So if I look at my game controller script right here, before any of this code is going to be run, it's actually going to run this code first because it has an awake function. Alright, so what do we want to run first? Well, we want to see if our instance is null, meaning that there's no game objects selected with this script. Then we want this specific instance to be the instance. Alright, so we're going to set instance to this, which means this script. Else, well, the only option it can't be is if it's not this, then inside squiggly brackets, notice my indentation here. Anytime you start a squiggly bracket, you want to keep it in the same indentation. So we have our if statement, and then else, if it's not this, then we want to go ahead and destroy the game master game object because it's not the right one. All right, we only want to keep one in our scene at any given time. This means that if there's a duplicate, it's going to destroy the new one. It won't destroy the one that has all our saved settings on it. All right, so I'll save this. Okay, if you want to, go ahead and take a few seconds, see if you can type in the comments for this, and I'll come back and show you what they look like. And this is what your script should look like. Alright, make sure you save that script. We'll go back into Unity, it'll compile, make sure you have no errors. Should see zeros across the board. And now let's go ahead and attach this to our game master object. Since we did make a change, right, in our prefab, we want to make sure that we apply that change. So up in the top right, where you have your prefab button here, we just want to click apply, and this should no longer be bold, showing that it's the same throughout every game master in the game or in Unity. I'll just save my scene and save project just to make sure we don't lose anything. In the next tutorial, we'll start setting up the colors and functionality of the play settings and quit buttons.